leadership on and saying it's not about this particular person, it's really who you are
Yeah.
bringing, because we all have unique capabilities, we all have unique talents. And when I started to do that and be comfortable showcasing my true self in all scenarios, that's when my strengths started to be highlighted more without me having to.
Yeah, exactly. Without you having to speak up about it. Yes.
Exactly.
Naturally comes through.
There you go. Naturally comes true. And then, so how do you really empower and inspire your team members to embrace their authentic selves within your work environment?
Gosh, it's hard to like put that into words and how you do it. This is where I feel like I need better vocabulary. I wish I'd taken more like
You're doing
writing
an
classes.
amazing job, just the way it is.
I know. I put everything into a spreadsheet, that's how I do it.
It's always good to be the numbers person. That's all I can say. They're the ones with the true power.
Exactly. We hold the keys.
Exactly.
No, I think empowering, your team to show up as their true self is, I think it goes back to, there's a statement that is, most people listen with the intent to respond. They don't listen with the intent to comprehend. And so I think to encourage people to show up as their true self, you really have to be mindful of the fact that, you need to listen to them with the intent to understand and to comprehend and not just to respond to whatever they're saying. And whether that's, a work-related matter, whether that's talking about, a personal issue that may be impacting their work performance, but really showing up and listening and allowing them to be who they are and to share that as in those conversations, as opposed to, being that hard driving, deadline driven, deliverable driven, type of organization.
Absolutely, absolutely right. And then I always say that people prefer not to be dealing or engaging with somebody who's a psychopath. Right?
Correct.
So
Correct.
just thinking that you're just going to be saying, I always think just to be a conforming, I used to think be a conforming employee.
Yes.
Yes, but no. It
No.
shows that you have no judgment and that you
Yeah.
don't have necessarily critical thinking. And when
Yeah.
you do, you're doing yourself a major disservice when you're positioning yourself like that. And
Yeah.
there's no value, there's no win, because like I said, everybody has hidden talents,
Yeah.
unique potency out there. And if you choose to hide your authenticity, right?
Yeah.
This is what everyone is losing, not only yourself, but everybody around you, within your team is losing.
Yeah.
That's my piece of.
Agreed. And the best ideas come to the surface when are able to have open dialogue with your team, and you can't do that if you're not fostering that authenticity and that type of communication style.
Yes, trust.
Within the organization.
That's the word you were trying to.
That
Yeah.
trust. Yeah.
Building
Yeah.
that trust factor is key.
Yeah.
So authentic leadership helps with that too, and it brings out trust and the understanding that you
Yeah.
understand the person's world, and it's okay for them to bring the true self and not to hide different
Yes.
parts of themselves to please you or to fit in.
Yes. Yes.
So I have a mouthful on that because I've endured that so my journey. So let me not take over the conversation here, but it's really all about you and what the wisdom you have, and you have lots of wisdom to share with our listeners today. Brilliant. Thank you for being here. And then, of course, what challenges or resistance have you encountered, particularly around fostering authentic leadership within the workplace?
I've definitely encountered leaders leaders, they may be in a position of leadership who are, who don't have kind of an open-mindedness towards various leadership styles. They've, kind of grown up in call it an environment where You know, you follow certain, you know, some particular leadership style, and you know, it's really hard to they make it difficult to work with, right? When there's not an openness to, you know, the way you do things or the way you approach things, or an openness to changing the way kind of you think about how you arrive at, you know, major decisions. And so, yeah, they can be very frustrating, those types of personalities, you know, to work with. You know, who think that there's one way of doing it because it worked for one person, or it worked for, you know, it worked in a different application, doesn't necessarily mean it works in the situation that you're in.
Yes, that's
Sorry,
good.
that was not a very articulate response to that. I apologize.
No. It actually did address the question. So
Okay.
before that input, and then of course, that's just in winding down, we can just put some lens on strategic and personal resilience network building. And if I can just get a sense of how important is it for you to have a strong network of support as a C-suite executive. And again, I'm looking at someone here who seems very much highly competent in terms of building that circle of support to get the job done. So
I cannot stress how important it is to have that support network. And especially of peers who have been in your position or are in your position, who understand the challenges that you're facing, and can understand that you can have a conversation with them about the issue without having to reveal specifics, and they can still give you, you know, that perspective and that advice because you know, they've been in your shoes or in a similar situation before. So you know, it's a challenge. Like I said, you know, as a CFO, there's not a lot that you can really say publicly, and you know, a lot of what you would classify as a challenging situation. But being able to have, like, you know, that support network of, especially of women who have been in those situations before, to just provide kind of a sounding board, not necessarily on the details of how you need to address something, but on how you know, how you address it as a leader um, in the best interest of your organization.
mhm. Brilliantly said. I mean, I just I can't tell how important it is to have that support system in place, and it's
Yeah.
really critical for mental health and well-being too. And with BoostThru, every portfolio, and now we're building an app. Everything is centered around how we can actually get confidential and, you know, help, accessible
Yeah.
help to
Yeah.
professional business leaders there where, you know, it feels psychologically safe. It's a safe outlet for them
Yeah.
receiving help and being able to thrive in their environment. So I do understand that, and being in the high-tech sector before many years, I understand about IP and intellectual property and a whole lot that
Yep.
is closed. I understand that. And so, but I understand the importance of people getting the help that they need when they need it. So they
Yeah.
can perform at their best and they can be sane and mentally and, you know, and well balanced.
Yes.
So I'm going to say on that.
Yeah. I
So
agree with that. Yeah.
absolutely. I know
Um,
you. And then, of course, what steps have you, Kimberly, taken to build and maintain your strategic and personal resilience networks? I know it can be open share and all those things. Maybe for other job roles, it's different, very
yep.
delicate path for a
Yep.
CEO. But what maybe forums or anything that you've been, you know, been in women support forums for C-suite executives that you've really benefited from? You know, do you
Yeah.
want to?
Yeah, so I went through the way, you know, I connected with you. I went through board of directors training with Michelle several years ago, and you know, she has, you know, built an incredible network of women, and I'm still in touch with, you know, with a number of them today, and we provide a ton of support to each other, and whether it's just getting out of the house and playing a round of golf, or whether it's, sitting down and having, that sounding board of those hard discussions. We have an incredible network of women who graduated from my business school, so Tuck alums. And so fostering those relationships, not just with your classmates, but across classes. There's just so much value in the perspective that, alums from, some of the first women to ever get their MBAs, can provide, as well as the perspective that, younger alums can provide in terms of, what they're thinking about, in their career and those challenges that they're facing, and kind of causing you to self-reflect on, how could I have handled like that situation differently if I were in their shoes? So fostering those networks, there's a number of organizations here in Colorado. I'm a member of the Colorado Wise Women now. And so
Colorado Wise Women?
Yes.
I love that name.
So it's a subsidiary organization to the Colorado Thought Leaders Forum. But it's for executive women.
Amazing. Yeah. And so for all you aspiring leaders in this particular energy industry, that would be a perfect place.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Grow your capabilities as a leader. So thank you. That's the type of information we're looking to share with those who really just want to improve and develop themselves.
Great.
Executive leadership. So of course, do you have any specific resources or platforms that were helpful in expanding and diversifying your network, or per se that you, outside of that, what you just shared?
I wouldn't say I've accessed any particular platforms. I mean, it's developing those networks, which is what you really have to do in person and via personal connections. So it's, identifying and going through board of directors training, doing your background research on kind of the types of people who are going to be, sharing that space with you and that time with you. And it's the same thing with, business school, but it's, I think everybody already has like a number of those networks available to them. They just need to access it and to foster it.
Absolutely right. So we have the resources, we just need to know how to tap into and take advantage of what we already have. And I'm glad that you brought that up as a leader, because a lot of times we're thinking we don't have access to this, but we already do. It's just from what angle you see it, and you have to give it some time, right? And you put in the work in order to grow your network. It's like another job, really. It is.
Yeah.
So
it
that's
is. Yeah. And it is immensely important as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then, of course, in wrapping up here now, this final segment, what are the most significant barriers or obstacles? And this is key for the woman executive leader, aspiring woman executive leader, or the seasoned one who may be struggling in navigating the waters and maximizing the influential power within the work environment. So what obstacles for female executives are the most significant in attaining, or attaining leadership or C-suite positions in your industry?
To be perfectly honest, it's, the biggest challenge is just the bias, like we talked about earlier, towards, gender in C-suite roles or in any role really, right? And so, the fact that, women are judged on what they have achieved, where men are judged on their potential. The biggest obstacle is, and I've seen this come through, as I've interviewed for various roles of, I don't get any benefit, for my potential. I only get judged on, what my experience has been, not what it could be. Whereas, I know, analysts who worked for me, who I, taught everything to, are judged on what their potential could be for a similar type of role. So I would say that is probably one of the biggest obstacles I think that most women face.
What personally have you done to basically overcome that? That would be the key takeaway here.
Yeah, you just have to keep trying. Take the feedback, think about how you can tell your story differently, continually evolve, and don't take yourself out of the game. It's unfortunate that, we may have to take more shots at the hoop to get where we want to go, but you definitely won't get there if you don't try. So it's taking that feedback, it's adapting your story, it's finding different ways to connect with those that you're interviewing with or you're working with to progress your role.
Yeah, so that's definitely a key opportunity for exercising resiliency, because you really have to recover if you have any ego issues, right?
Yeah.
That you didn't get a job or whatever, right? But
Yep.
you're highly competent and capable
Yep.
of executing those job functions, but you didn't get the job. How
Yep.
can you really recover and adapt and try again and not take yourself out of the game, like you said?
Yep.
Brilliantly said there. And so I just want to say this has been just an amazing exchange with you.
Thank you.
Brilliant leader, and someone who obviously just sit back and just make their assessment of things before they open their mouth. Which is key for success in this environment that we're in. So thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing today. Any other parting thoughts, insights, wisdom? I know you have lots of wisdom there. You would like to impart regarding the topics of resilience, emotional intelligence, difficult conversations navigation, authentic leadership, or building networks, phenomenal networks. In closing, anything?
I would just say that the longer you avoid difficult conversations, the more difficult they become, and the harder it is to build that emotional resilience and that discipline to be able to get through those conversations. And no matter what you choose to do in your career, whether you sit in a CFO role, no matter what industry you are, you're always going to have difficult conversations at some point in your career. And so, learning how to address those head on is key to being able to succeed and to move forward and to move beyond that, to not only to grow yourself, but to grow the organization as well.
Absolutely, and brilliantly said. And I really, really, from the bottom of my heart, I really want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to share so many amazing takeaways with us. And you upcoming executive leaders out there, I'm sure you've had so much outpouring from the wonderful Kimberly Eckert here. And we're eternally grateful for leaders like yourself who understand the importance of seeding into the lives of others and empowering others. And today is International Women's Day. I can't think of a better guest to have Breaking Barriers interview series. I believe we would have done it justice just by what you shared. And we want to wish you